You might be wondering, gee, DC, did Canyon come in and throw up all in your studio? I know, that's what it looks like. Grab a coffee, sit down. Let's talk about this. Roll the intro. Hello everyone, how are you? This is yours truly, Diabetic Cycling, coming at you once again. This episode is sponsored by my own damn wallet and brought to you by your engagement, which is very much appreciated. So please hit the like button if you like what I'm showing you, and hit the subscribe button so that you could see all the new exciting episodes I have planned for the channel. Let's go right to the chase. I actually shot an unboxing video 2 days ago, and after looking at the footage, I actually decided to scrap the whole thing and reshoot the way I'm doing it as you're watching it, because I didn't like the lighting, but furthermore I really didn't like how I was just rambling on, and the video was unnecessarily long for an unboxing video, especially when I really don't like unboxing videos because I think they lack substance, especially for a cycling gear channel. So you are watching what you are watching today with the bike out of its box. I've had my eyes on a Canyon Aeroad for a while, I think dating all the way back to maybe a couple years ago. But like especially last year, a brand new refreshed model was seen underneath Matthew Vanderpool. So anyhow, so knowing the model was going to go through a refresh, I sort of held back. Fast forward to July 2024, Tour de France just wrapped up, and Canyon announced and made available their new 4th gen Aeroad just late last week as of the date that I'm filming this. So I contemplated for a day or two, wondering which model, which trim that I'm gonna order, because it goes from top to bottom. It's a CFR, then you got the CF SLX, then you got the CF SL. Then I also needed to go which drivetrain I'm gonna take, all of that. So I contemplated for a little bit, then I did something that I wouldn't have done unless I create content for this channel, which was ordering the top of the line CFR. This is something that would have never happened if it wasn't for the channel, because I firmly believe the top of the line race spec bikes from any company should be reserved for racing pros only, and not for enthusiasts and hobbyists like myself. But if I'm gonna sit here on this channel, for those of you tuning in to see the top level spec bike, and I keep constantly saying how normal Joes should go with models that's less equipped, I wanted to have a base for my rambling. So I ended up getting the one with the Dura Ace. This is their top of the line spec version. And then the bike came in maybe a couple days after the order went in, and this filming is taking place 2 days after I received and unboxed it. The version that I ordered with the Dura Ace Di2 was only available with this color. It's kind of I'm colorblind, by the way, so I may not be accurate, but it's like a black and green and gray, I want to say. Like a mixture of the three, and then there's a metallic sparkle finish, which makes it not boring, because if it was just one monochrome color, it would have been less interesting. But the bike definitely does turn color depending on which angle you're looking at, and the metallic finish is just money. All right, then let's go over the spec of the bike real quick. Going from top to bottom, I've already told you that it is Dura Ace 12-speed Di2. The saddle that they equip you with is the Selle Italia Superflow Boost 3D. Now, my current favorite saddle is actually the Selle Italia Superflow Boost Carbonio. However, this is a 3D printed. At the same time, I believe that one is 130 mil, whereas I ride the 143 or 145, whatever the wider version is. So it is the somewhat of a short-nosed saddle that is very prevalent in modern day cycling. Then you get the proprietary seat post that is very aero, and then you got your integrated cockpit that you see here. Now there's about 2 centimeters, I want to say, maybe a little less, of spacers here, which I will be removing and slamming the cockpit, which I will go over later on in a different episode why I always slam my cockpit. It's not because I have some sort of a dream to look like a pro, none of that. I mean, I'm nowhere near that kind of a power output. I'm just an enthusiast, but there is a reason why I do what I do when I slam my cockpit. Anyhow, so with these sides, the extra small, what you get is the 90 mil stem, and then what they put either 39 or 40 wide handlebar as default. Now you do have an option to add and buy additional ends of the handlebars where, as you know, Canyon handlebars, the end bits come off so that you could widen or make the bar narrow as you see fit. So there are 3 different size settings available, but at the narrowest point, it's like a 39 or 40, which I find little bit wide, especially lately for me. Last couple of years, I've been riding on 36 and 38 mil wide. So I have the Aero ones, which Aero ones basically allow the bars to go narrow, and then it flares out a little bit. So I do have those on order to replace the more traditional standard ones here that will make my cockpit to the width that I prefer. So that will happen sometime next week. Okay, so that is the cockpit, and then again, going down, I have Dura-Ace crankset, which they give you the semi-compact 5236 with the crank length of 170, and the model comes with the Shimano power meter on board, and the cassette is 1130. So at the easiest combination, I would have to turn 36 up front and 30 in the back. I'm gonna tell you something, that is not going to happen with me. Now, I get the premise of the bike. It is an aero bike. Maybe it's a little bit more for the flat road, sprinters, you know, those things. So maybe the lowest gear combination isn't as important for a bike of this nature. Maybe something like Ultimate is more suited for climbing, perhaps. However, we are not pros. I'm just a normal dude. I'll be riding on multiple different terrains. The bike will be with me when I go to mountains. The bike will be with me when I cruise around the beaches. So I'm gonna need all the options available. So what I'm gonna end up doing is to change the crankset, actually the chain rings and the cassette. So the chain rings, I'm gonna go 50-34. Completely compact, just like I do with every other bike that I have. And then the cassette will be 1134. 12 speed. So that would allow me also to swap wheels out freely, although more on that later. So in that case, I'll be turning 34-34, 1-to-1 ratio, much easier when I go tackle some hideous mountains like I'm gonna do starting tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm heading out to Onion Valley, California, which is rated the hardest mountain climb in California. So that is gonna be a doozy. This bike is not gonna be going, but because of things like that, I'm gonna need easier gearing. So again, the chainring and the cassette will be changed to 50-34 and 11-34. Now on the website, I think Canyon shows 160 mil rotor in the front and 140 in the back. At least that's what I think I saw. However, the bike came with the 140 up front and 140 in the back, which I guess it doesn't bother me as much But because I love swapping wheels out between the bikes, especially when I'm like comparing the wheel sets. For instance, I'm going to be bringing you an episode where I pit Dura Ace wheels against Zip Firecrest 404s versus NV SES 4.5. Now, it is possible for me to change the wheels out among different bikes that I have because of the fact that all the rotor sizes are the same, 160 front and 160 in the rear, so I don't have to adjust the calipers every single time I change stuff out. So this right here, I may go 160 later on. Rotors are relatively cheap, so we'll be doing that. And then what else? So the wheels, what they spec out is the DT Swiss Arc 1100 50 mil front and rear. I would have probably liked to see something a little bit deeper in the rear, maybe 50 up front, 58 in the back, or 62. I don't know what DT Swiss makes in terms of a different depth. So I don't know what's after 50, but I think 50 up front and like a 58 16.2 in the rear would have really made the bike perform at its best. But what do I know? Speaking of the price, you guys, so this is a $10,000 bike as it's a spec. You do get the Ultegra or the Force build somewhere around 6,000, north of slightly 6,000. And then you get the 105 build at about 5,000. So it is grossly expensive. If you told me, 20 years ago, hey, DC, well, someday in the future, you'll be buying a bike that's $10,000, I would have said, you are absolutely out of your goddamn mind. Why your bike costs that much is just absolutely insane. But these companies can produce bikes and sell at that price because there are consumers that are buying that. However, you compare the top spec race bike. This is very much the same bike Jasper Philipsen is riding to win the sprint stages, and Matthew Van Der Poel's winning all his one-day classics on. So it is very much exactly same spec as pro bike. So when you're talking pro bike to pro bike to pro bike, this is actually value proposition, right? Because your Tarmacs, your Dogmas, those are all going to be north of 12,000, possibly 15,000. Now, there are some pro spec bikes that are going to be even cheaper than this, right? Like the Van Rysel RCRs and what have you, the Dares, the Cube Lightnings, like what Binyam Girmay was riding. So anyhow, so it is insanely expensive. And again, I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for having a YouTube channel, but more on that later. As I'm positioning this video, this is the unboxing video, quote unquote. I'll give you my initial impression. Mind you, I have not ridden 0.1 mile on this bike. I've never thrown my leg over the top tube even. So I don't know what the bike rides like. Based on my previous experience with Canyons, I'm sure it's gonna ride fantastic. However, here's the thing, you guys. I already told you that you've seen me ride and a full review of Ribble Ultra SLR, which I will link right here if you are interested in seeing that. That is a bona fide out and out, all out aero rocket. I have a track Madone standing right there, which I'm gonna show you, and then I will do a full review on. Again, a full-on out and out aero rocket machine with the ISOFlow hole right under your ass. So, and it's the previous version, by the way, not the one they cross mixed with the Imandas. So, when we're talking about aero bikes, you have like the Madones and the Ribble Ultras, but then you come look at this. You've seen my Tarmac SL8 video, which I will link right here. So Tarmac SL8, it's not the aero bike like what Venge used to be. It's not the super light bike what Aethos is like. By the way, Aethos review video coming up soon. I can't link since I haven't done it. But so Tarmac Tarmac is like this hybrid of Aethos and Venge, where one bike does everything. It's both in terms of lightness and aero. Dogma, same thing, right? Pinarello doesn't put out a full-on aero bike or full-on light bike. Dogma does everything. Despite Canyon having Ultimate as the light climbing bike, Aeroad is very much all-around bike when I look at it, as they are, it seems to me what their direction is. I could kind of see what their overall goal is. This bike doesn't scream that it's a full-on aero machine, unlike some of the other aero bikes that I've mentioned. They've designed it so that it appeals to the mass. So if you are looking for something with the aero flair, it will appeal to you. If you're looking for something light, it will appeal to you. I measured, I weighed it on my scale the other day. It's barely over 7 kilos. For an aero bike to be just above 7 kilos, that is absolutely insane. So with that said, your tubing profile, your tube profiles are very much pleasing. There's like a no bit on here that is offensive. It's very much designed to appeal to, again, a lot of people, because Canyon is in business to sell bikes. Yes, they sponsor athletes and pro teams and everything, but that is because to get their bikes out on the road in front of consumers' eyes so that you, the consumers, would buy their bikes. Now, if they make bikes that only appeals to a small portion of the audience, it's not a very good business model. So they would have to make something that appeals to a lot of people, and this bike says that it is what they're trying to do, because it's light, it's aero, and it looks very much digestible, if you ask me. Before I take this thing out on the road, which will take me a bit, and I will explain you why, and this will now segue into what I don't like about this bike, even before I log any mile on the bike. At the time of purchase, you have an option to add the aero bits to make your bars narrow. So I've already told you that. However, you are not given an option to dictate what your stem length and the bar width is. Basically, you are gonna take what Canyon specs out for you. So for this size, it's the 90 mil stem and the 40 mil bar. You could widen the bar, but you can't go more narrow. And it's a direct-to-consumer model, so you're not at a dealership, so you can't have them swap out a different size cockpit. What if you don't fit well on that? Like for me, based on 378 mil reach numbers of this frame, I would have preferred 100 or even 110 mil stem to extend the reach a little bit, but I'm not given that choice. And then on top of that, they don't sell the bar separately. Although with this model, I noticed you could buy the middle piece of the handlebar. I think they call it T-Pace. So you could get that with the stem length that you like, and then add on these collapsible bits to the middle portion of it to do that. But it's an additional expense. Speaking of additional expense, it is my opinion that all bike companies should include out front computer mount if they're using a proprietary design. If it's just a normal stem and the bar situation where anything will fit, whatever, then, and you know, whether you use K-Edge, whether you use China, who cares? You could do whatever you want. However, while they allow this integration piece, it's the same integration bit you may be familiar with from their Grail line of bikes. You have this piece that you could screw off and then put on either a phone mount, out front computer mount, GoPro mount, stuff like that. So that is available, but you have to buy the computer mount separately. And you can't use another third-party computer mount because it's proprietary. By the way, I had to spend the money and get the computer mount because I'm gonna need that on there, right? Okay, so along with that, also you don't get to decide your crank length. I believe there are other bike manufacturers where you can order direct to consumer, direct to door, and you are able to specify all these different component sizes, but you can't do that with the Canyon. Again, they are in business of making money. smaller number of variations they have to make, more money, more efficient their manufacturing process is, therefore able to generate more bottom line. So say you want to be Tadej Pogacar and want to go 165 mil crank length, you're going to have to do that aftermarket. In order to get the bike out on the road and start riding, I actually need to change out a few things even on the wheel sets. So DT Swiss Arc 1100, their lightest wheels, 50 mil, great wheel set, tubeless ready by the way, but the bike comes with Continental's Grand Prix GP5000S tubeless ready tires. A lot of you guys love Continental GP5000s. I absolutely hate Continental GP5000s because of every time I'm riding with someone and they get flat tires and we have to stop our rides, I look what tires they're riding. You guessed it, Continental GP5000. So we'll have to swap this out to Pirellis or the ENVs. Obviously, your mileage may vary and you may be able to debunk what I'm saying here. And I also understand the math behind it. It's the probability chance, right? If there are 10 guys riding, 5 guys are using Continental GP5000, 3 guys are riding Pirellis, and 2 guys riding, Kendas or whatever else. Laws of probability will dictate, because there's a greater number of that tire out on the road, it's probably the one that you're gonna see getting a flat. So I get all that. However, I am still not going to ride this, so the tires will come off. And on top of that, it has this tan wall, which I hate. I know a lot of people like the whole retro look and everything, but have you noticed you can't keep this clean? You can't keep the tan walls looking like this even after just a couple hundreds of miles. So the tires will come right off of the rims, and I'll probably stick on either Pirellis or ENVs, like I said earlier, get them to be tubeless, possibly change the rotor to 160s so that I could swap between other bikes. So that is what is going to happen before I start riding this bike to come back with you, to come back to you with a full review episode. All right, so I've been earlier I said I scrapped my actual unboxing episode because I was rambling on, but I feel like I rambled on even in this episode. But I wanted to show you what the bike is like and what you could expect from the channel going next couple of months. There will be some bits about this bike. I will probably come back to you as I swap the collapsible bits with the aero bit, which will make the bar narrower and also give me little less drop, because I think that thing has a much shorter drop there, shallower drop. All right, so that's it, you guys. Tomorrow I leave with my homies to Bishop, California to go take down Onion Valley and Horseshoe Meadow. Those are very famous climbs, maybe some of you are familiar with. And I'll be taking my Specialized Aethos for that trip, and shortly after that I will have my thoughts documented on a full review episode for the Specialized Aethos. Okay, you've watched my unboxing video of Canyon Aeroad. Despite it, you didn't end up seeing the box. Okay, I've been Diabetic Cycling. You've been awesome. Until next time, keep the rubber side down. Be safe out there, people, and most importantly, be good humans. I'm out.